Hey there, so glad you could join me today. This is going to be a fun episode for me. We're going to be talking about back to school reset. It's that time of the year. It's the day after Labor Day here in America. I know not everybody celebrates this holiday, but it basically signals the start of school for just about everybody if you're not already in school. I know here in the Midwest in Wisconsin, our summers are pretty short. So we usually tend to start school a little bit later than a lot of other places because we need to really take advantage of our warm summers and our great temperatures as long as possible. So we're going to talk about a back to school reset, how to feel great again without more diets. We know that that is not the answer. And, without medications and without burnout, because I know that it's like back to school time can be fabulous and great. You could get back on a schedule, but I know for many, it might mean a lot of earlier mornings. It might mean, if you're a teacher, I have so many teacher friends. I don't know why. I just congregate to teachers. A lot of you are back into your schedule and into school and new classrooms. And I'm a mom of three. I get it. My kids are older. My middle son is back to college now for his junior year. Our daughter graduated college in May. She's a teacher as well, an educator. Special education was her major. She started a new job over the summer, well, along with her husband, got married in June, and our youngest is starting his senior year of high school. So I am just getting to that point. I can't even believe that I'm at this stage, but oh my gosh, I remember oh so clearly school starting, meeting teachers, going to classrooms, getting all the school supplies. I honestly, I will say I have not got school supplies with my children in years because once I get to high school, it loses all of its pull, and it's not really this cool thing anymore. But oh my goodness, I remember being in Target with all three of my kids with all the lists and trying to make sure I have everything. And oh, every classroom was different with what they needed, but it's a very exciting time, but it can be stressful and a little bit fun all together, right? So I know for me personally, even though my children are older, it just like fall signifies a little bit more structure. Like, even though my kids are older, we just don't have the structure in the summer that we do during the school year. Both my boys were home over the summer. They worked a lot, but it's still just, having extra bodies around, extra bodies to feed. Their work schedules were unpredictable. They just kind of, they had outside jobs. And when they were done for the day, they were done. So sometimes they were home at 3, sometimes they were home at 6. And my husband's schedule is wonky. We did a lot of traveling over the summer, or at least I did. My youngest, we went to Florida. We went to our family cottage. It's just a lot, right? And we had the wedding in September, or sorry, we had the wedding in June. So it's back to school time, back to getting refocused and a little bit more structure, a little bit more semblance of normalcy for a lot of people. And I know that a lot of times summer can be a time where you lose that structure and you lose your normal eating times, you lose your normal routine. You're out and about, you're oftentimes up a lot later, right? Like it gets dark at 4 or 4:30 in the dead of winter here. So in the summer, it's like 9 or 9:30, it's light out. So it feels like you want to take advantage of that. So you stay up later, you might get up earlier because the sun is up so early. So there's just a lot of factors that go into, that summer schedule just getting thrown off, and sleeping in can be, another thing that trips some people up, and circadian rhythms are off and pulled. And I will say this, like I've talked a lot about circadian rhythm on the podcast in the past. Like if your circadian rhythm and the time that you wake and go to bed has shifted a little bit over the summer, that's completely normal. Because like here for me, staying up later in the summer is it should be expected because it's light out for so much longer. And, getting up a little bit earlier, not getting as much sleep over the summer for humans, evolving humans, that was normal. So if your circadian rhythm has shifted a little bit, that's completely normal. Keep in mind the microbiome shifts too, because we have all of this bright light and UV light in our environment. And our gut bacteria is expecting different foods and expecting, more produce, more fruits and vegetables, more things grown in our environment. Like our microbiome shifts and changes. So I know for me in the past, I've talked about this on the podcast a little bit, but I've actually struggled with weight gain over the summer in the past. It's been a really normal thing for me and I never could figure it out. Yeah, I was eating a little bit later, but I think it's, there is a lot of evidence that shows that, we eat a little bit more in the summer. We eat more carbohydrates because of everything that is available to us, but our bodies, our mitochondria are getting signals that we should be storing food. We should be storing energy right now because it's plentiful. And so I know, like for me, that has been something that I've struggled with for I don't even know, as long as I can remember. And this summer, I didn't really notice it that much. And the few pounds that I do kind of, go back and forth with, I lost when I started the Feel Great system about a month ago. So that was very, that was very exciting. And I'm really glad that I found that system, which I'll talk more about in a few minutes. But, yeah, it's an interesting time of the year as far as our circadian health goes and quantum biology goes. So let's talk about how we can kind of do a fall reset and without jumping. We don't want to, I know a lot of times too when it comes fall, and I was guilty of this. I used to always run my program, Low Insulin Academy, like I'd kick it off in September, right? You're just wanting, like, oh, I've kind of let it go all summer. I have had no structure. I've had, no normal schedule. Like I need something to get back on track. So I had always run my Low Insulin Academy and kick off programs in September. Like September and January were always the most popular times to get back on the health wagon. And I totally get that. Like, I feel like a reset myself, but we don't want to go drastic either. Like we don't want to go, dive back into, oh my gosh, I got to do 3 24-hour fasts this week. And you haven't been doing any intermittent fasting all summer, or, you've been really liberal with your carbohydrates and all of a sudden tomorrow I need to go down to 50 grams of carbohydrate or less. Like what our bodies will feel that. And we want to make some really subtle, gradual changes that, can be something that we can maintain over the course of many months and years. So I do want to announce that I am doing a free webinar on September 10th. I haven't done one. I don't even know, friends. I think it's been like a year. My 2024 was so crazy. And I think I did one when Cortisol Calm came out last year, and that was probably my last webinar that I did. So I'm really excited to bring this to you. I have just put it together this week, and I'm going to be focused on GLP-1 hormone, because people are very curious about GLP-1 hormone, and they're very curious about how to increase it naturally, and how if they're on some sort of injection such as Ozempic or Wegovy, Zepbound, tirzepatide, semaglutide, like there's all kinds of GLP-1 agonists out there now. If you're ready to try to wean yourself off, you can no longer afford it. You've had side effects from those injections. This is a really great webinar for you to listen in on, because I'm going to go over how we can naturally increase the GLP-1 hormone, how we can wean off of it if that's what you are wanting to do, and how to avoid medications for both weight loss, cholesterol, heart disease. Like if you've gone lately to a doctor, or if you've had a physical or whatever, and they're like, okay, you're borderline pre-diabetes, I want to start you on metformin, or oh my gosh, your cholesterol is 260, we need to start you on a statin. Like, do you really need to do that? And what are some natural alternatives for you to try that are actually in the physician's desk reference, or the physician's, I think now it's called the provider's digital resource, but what are some things that your doctor can look up and say, okay, yeah, this is legit. Let's try this. And it's natural. Like I'm going to be talking about those things on my webinar. So make sure to join me. I only have one time available. It's going to be at noon Central on Wednesday, September 10th. And of course, there will be a replay if you can't join me, because I'm only offering one time slot. I've just with all the cortisol dysregulation and all of the stuff that I've gone through in the past, and that led me up to that point of dysregulated cortisol and nervous system overload. It was doing a lot of night work and just pushing myself and doing night webinars, doing night classes. Like I've just found that cutting those out has been really great for me. So I'm offering one daytime webinar at noon Central Time. If you can't make it, there will be a replay, but it's really to your advantage to join me live, because then you can ask questions. And I'm thinking there's going to be a lot of questions at this at this webinar, because this is such a hot topic. So make sure there's a link in the show notes that you sign up for that. I'll be promoting it on my email list. So make sure you're on my email list if you're not already. I'll be promoting it on Instagram, and there's a link in the show notes for you to sign up for that webinar as well. All right. So the post-summer metabolism slump, some of you might be there. Like what happens to your hormones and blood sugar over the summer? And I kind of already alluded to that. I think it's perfectly natural to have a little bit increase in your insulin and in your blood sugar, because your body's kind of expecting that. So if you've literally changed nothing in your overall lifestyle, and your habits are no different now than they were before, but you saw like a slight bump up in your blood sugar or your insulin over the summer, that can be normal, because your body, again, like I was saying before, your body's expecting more carbohydrates, more produce. Your body takes in all these cues and signals from the environment around us, right? So I spend an enormous time outside during the summer. I don't have sun, I'm not able to do that all year. We have really cold winters. So when it is summer, I am working outside as much as I can. And if it's hot, I'm sitting in the shade with my feet on the ground. If it's cooler, I put a sweatshirt on, but whenever I am able to, I am working outside. I am getting sunlight exposure. I'm building my vitamin D production, because I can't expose my skin to the elements over the winter. Vitamin D is a fat soluble storage hormone. So get as much of that as you can over the summer. I know not everybody has the luxury of working outside like I do, but get outside as much as possible, and, take in all those signals through your eyes, through your skin. That is how your body reads the environment. It reads it through lighting, through the eyes. It reads it through food as well. So food is information. So if you're eating food that is not native to your area, you're eating food that is not meant to be eaten at all. And there's plenty of that around. Your body is just like, what in the world is this? Like, it's not expecting it. So try to eat local, try to eat things that are in your environment. I'm going to be bringing Carrie Bennett on. Oh my gosh, she's one of my favorite quantum people. I have learned so much from this lady. I wish I could dump everything from her brain into my brain. She's one of the quantum circadian leaders in the space for sure, but I'll be talking to her more about vitamin D. And so many things, quantum and circadian. You're going to love her. But she'll be on in a few weeks. But back to the kind of post summer metabolism slump, you again, you probably have been staying up later, right? Because it's sunny out. We have things, we want to be outside. Our kids are doing stuff outside. My kids are kind of out of this stage, but I remember, sitting at baseball games until after dark and going to baseball tournaments and just long days swimming. I mean, you want to be outside as late as possible. And so a lot of times we're eating later, right? Because we're up until 10 o'clock. We're outside till 10 o'clock. Whereas in the winter, you want to hunker in and be, kind of in your cozies and in your pajamas by 5 or 6 o'clock. And you're not, thinking about food as much. So longer days can definitely throw off our eating times and our meal timing for sure. A lot of times, like I said, just less structure over time or over the summer, a lot less structure. But the other thing that comes into play for a lot of people is more sugar, more treats, more dessert, more vacation, more food that we're just not typically eating. Because we want to celebrate. We're on vacation. We're on holiday, as you in the European countries like to say. And a lot of times there's more alcohol. I get it. I have not had an alcoholic drink in 2.5 years now. Over that 2 years, 8 months, it's been for me. January 2023 was the last time. Well, actually, it was December of 2022. I haven't had a drink since then. Don't miss it. Don't miss the crappy sleep that it brought me. But I do know, like summertime, it's you're out boating, you're having cocktails, you have people over maybe for a fire, or at least I'm naming all the Wisconsin things. Some might be like, oh my gosh, we don't do that. But we do, lots of campfires around here and, meeting people for drinks, going to bands and music, hanging out on the boat. Those types of things are what we love to do in the summer. And it just might be more alcohol, especially alcohol at night. So all of these things can kind of compound over the summer. And, now you're feeling it, right? Like you got a little weight gain, you got a little bloating, you didn't get as good of sleep. You went to sleep later, circadian balance might be a little off. Mitochondria aren't real happy with you. You have some brain fog, you have some cravings, and maybe you're even feeling puffy because you're up later and maybe you weren't doing the natural circadian lighting type thing, but you were doing, more Netflix and more movies and, more phone time, more screen time at night. And that's throwing your cortisol off. And now all of a sudden you have elevated cortisol at night and you're like, oh my gosh, I am just way, way off. So that can happen. And we can see some shifts in our cortisol, right? We can see that peak earlier in the morning because our sun rises way earlier. I will admit to you that I did not see a sunrise for probably a month, like a true sunrise. I always went outside as soon as I got up. That was always the first light that I saw. But our sunrises in Wisconsin from like early June through late July are literally in the fours sometimes, like 4:45 until like 5:30. Like during that month of time, I'm just like, no, I like my circadian rhythm is intact. I am like good. I have that back. Like my adrenal fatigue is gone. So I thought for me personally, it was more important to just have a regular sleep schedule. I was not getting up at 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning to watch sunrise. But now the sunrise is like 6, a little after 6. That is perfect for me. So again, I'm out there the first time, at first light, I'm out there, I'm watching sunrise. But that can all get dysregulated over the summer. So summer can definitely dysregulate our cortisol a little bit with later nights, earlier mornings. You might have a longer eating window just because the daylight, the time of the day is so much longer than it is in the winter, and that's okay. But now that the days are starting to get shorter again, and it's, temperatures are starting to cool down, our mitochondria, our microbiome, all those things are going to start to shift again. And now, right now we're kind of like at the peak of the produce season, right? Like this is harvest time. Like my food share that came this week, I was so excited about. It was my best food share all summer. I had zucchini and I had a watermelon and I had cucumbers and tomatoes. And I had like one of the farms around here shreds like their cabbage and their kohlrabi and their carrots, and they put it in this nice blend, like a coleslaw blend. And I've been eating that as a salad, and it's been so delicious. So it's kind of really the peak of the harvest. And so our bodies are expecting that. If we've been outside all summer and we've given our bodies and our microbiome the correct signal. So my body, with me being outside, I'm outside for several hours a day, most days. My body's expecting these things. But if you work in an office and you rarely expose yourself to natural sunlight and you eat a ton of carbohydrates, your body might be like, what the heck? Like I have not had sunlight on my skin in days. I have no idea like what to do with this. So it's critical for you, if you're in that, if your circadian balance is just messed up and you feel like your body's chaotic and you just can't get back on track, like starting to get outside. And even if you can't expose your skin, like if you're at work, just getting the signals through your eyes can be really, really helpful to try to bring that cortisol and melatonin balance back into, bring those hormones back into balance. Going outside, spending time outside with naked eyes, that's going to be the best way to do that. And once our cortisol and melatonin dysregulate because we haven't spent enough time outside, or we're eating at times that don't coincide with our circadian rhythm, other hormones can start to get out of balance, right? Our leptin signaling can be thrown off, and leptin is our hormone that it's our hunger and satiety hormone, but it's also the hormone that it has a lot to do with immunity, but it also tells our body, it gives your body a download of information on how much storage is in your body. So it tells you your brain how much extra fat you have, how much carbohydrate you have stored. It gives it's a big circadian signaling hormone. And so if that is off, your whole appetite's going to be off. Your metabolic rate is going to be off. And so dysregulating the circadian rhythm can dysregulate these hormones. And then, on down the line is dysregulation of insulin after leptin's been dysregulated. And then, of course, dysregulation of GLP-1 with different, depending on your meal timing and your macronutrient intake. And everybody's talking about GLP-1 these days. Anytime I put out a post that says anything about GLP-1, people are like, oh my gosh. I mean, it gets a lot of views. And I do try to put out a lot of information about GLP-1 because it's very misunderstood a lot of times. And people think it's like this new thing, like, oh my gosh, like I have GLP, like it hasn't existed, but it's always been there. It's made in your gut. And there are ways to increase it naturally, again, which I'll be talking about on my webinar. But our current American lifestyle, and I shouldn't just say American Western lifestyle, it sets you up to decrease this hormone over time naturally, which I'll be talking more about in the webinar. But eating really often, not eating enough protein, not eating enough fiber, not getting enough sleep, all these really foundational things will decrease that hormone. Eating really crappy food with no protein and no, ultra processed foods with no protein and no fiber brings down levels of this hormone. And so you can see why people are like so deficient in this hormone, and they're having such profound effects, and they're reacting so profoundly to this hormone because they've depleted it over their lifetimes. But the good thing is we can raise it naturally. And, if injections aren't your thing, there's definitely ways to work around that. And a lot of times over, kind of getting back to today's topic, just, summer, your schedule and being lackadaisical, being on vacation, eating things that we don't normally eat, ultra processed foods, desserts, all those things, drinking alcohol can dysregulate not only the circadian rhythm, but then start to dysregulate these hormones as well. So we've kind of come to where, now it's the end of summer or getting close. Kids are back in school. You're wanting to do something. And for a lot of women, like I said, September and January, I shouldn't say women, everybody. Like I say women a lot, and I'm sorry if you're male and I say women, you're probably like, oh my gosh, Shana, like I like, I need this information too. But I will say the vast majority of my following and listeners are female. But now you might be in this space where it's like, okay, now it's September, kids are back in school, and you want to overcorrect, right? It's like your body, you're feeling icky, you're not feeling great. You just want to go on like a 5-day fast. And wouldn't that be amazing if you could and just be like, I'm going on a 5-day fast? But I think your body would shout. And, you get lots of signals that your body's angry at you. So jumping into strict intermittent fasting, jumping into a ketogenic approach, tracking every little single thing that you put in your mouth, over exercising. We don't want to go too extreme, right? This can backfire, especially if your cortisol is dysregulated, you have adrenal fatigue, you are struggling with a lot of stress in your life. And that this was me, and I have many, many episodes on cortisol dysregulation and adrenal fatigue. I suffered through this myself for probably about 20 years before I completely corrected it. And so throwing ourselves into, if we're already stressed, our body's stressed, and throwing yourself into this, I have to follow this strict diet. I can't eat carbohydrates. I have to fast every single morning. I have to wait until at least noon until I can eat something. This can backfire on us when we're in this, in this phase where we're like, I know I have to get back on track, but going, full throttle right out of the gates is not a good idea. And the other thing is like over fasting. So we know that over fasting, extreme dieting, cutting carbohydrates for really extended periods of time, that can definitely dysregulate our leptin hormone and suppress it. And low leptin is no fun, because low leptin basically tells your body that it's in scarcity. So you eat, your body stores fat. Your body is just going to do, you might have missed periods, your skin might be really dry, your thyroid slows down. Like, we don't want low leptin. Low leptin is correctable, but going too extreme too fast and going too extreme for too long can definitely, wreak havoc with our leptin hormone, which we don't want to do. So that will, and then low leptin is just like, makes your body preserve. So low energy, storing all your food that, even if you're eating low calorie, more cravings, slowed metabolism, we don't want to do that. Okay. So what can we do instead, right? Like, what I want to talk about, like 3 things that you can do to just, get restarted. And not feel so overwhelmed. So I talk about this all the time with new clients that I work with. So we want to stabilize blood sugar, right? Like if you're feeling like you're in that space where you're just overwhelmed and don't even know where to start, we want to stabilize. We want to stabilize our blood sugar for the day, like set our circadian cues and stabilize our blood sugar to get started every day. And so going outside to see sunrise, getting outside, first light, whenever, even if you're not getting up till 10, make the first light that you see natural light. So that is going to help you to reset your circadian rhythm. But then also starting our day with a high protein meal. And again, if you're used to like sleeping in and this has really gotten away from you, or you've gone to quick breakfast like cereal or oatmeal or a bagel or something like that, let's get back to a high protein breakfast. Take 5 minutes to prepare some eggs or make some breakfast sausage or breakfast meat of some sort. Boil some eggs ahead of time. Get some dairy into your refrigerator. Have a leftover, make some hamburger patties for the day or for the week. It's really, as long as you're prepping ahead of time, it's easy to get that first high protein meal in. Have some cottage cheese, have some Greek yogurt. My standby breakfast, which I should probably switch this up more than I do. I have 2 to 3 eggs, depending on the size of the eggs. I have a couple slices of cheese, and I put that on my keto bread, which is base culture keto bread. And then I usually have Greek yogurt with a few berries. Don't always have berries, depends, in the summer I have them because they're very plentiful. Sometimes in the winter, I'm skipping the fruit. It really kind of depends on what's in season. In the fall, I tend to have apples. But that's kind of what I start with. And so you can stabilize the blood sugar in the morning and you can feel that stabilization. And not have the cravings and the blood sugar swings throughout the morning. So that is definitely step number 1. And then, like I said, step number 2 is having some morning light, whether it's 5 or 10 minutes, trying to be barefoot. We need to get the cortisol and melatonin signals reset. And if you've done a great job over the summer with this already, fantastic. But, if you really, maybe you've slept in, your kids are older, whatever it is, get that back in check. And then the other thing that can help with stabilizing blood sugar and blood sugar issues and appetite regulation, increasing the GLP-1 naturally, is the Feel Great system that I've been using now for, I think I'm going on my 6th week here. And I've seen changes in myself I wasn't expecting. Like I lost like 3 pounds in 5 weeks, which I was like, oh, I guess, I could have tightened this up a little bit. Very focused when I'm sipping on it throughout the day. So what it is, it's a 2-step system. It's a yerba mate tea that I drink 2 packs of that a day. And the other part of it is balance. It's called balance, and it's a fiber matrix that I have before my largest meal. And that helps with blood sugar stabilization, appetite regulation, and also with cholesterol. Like if you have issues with cholesterol or your lipids, it's very, very helpful with that. It also helps with gut integrity, which I've seen with myself. So if you have leaky gut or you have like autoimmune issues, it can help heal and seal because that soluble fiber and the fiber matrix helps to feed the good bacteria in your microbiome and kind of clean out the ones that shouldn't be there. It helps to tighten the tight junctions that are, that kind of loosen up and cause leaky gut. So it's helpful with that as well. And then the other part of the yerba mate or the yerba mate tea is that it does increase GLP-1, and studies that were done by Unicity, which is the company that makes this, the GLP-1 hormone increased by like 48%. So that is very substantial. So again, when we go to the GLP-1 medications, if you can do something naturally, that's a lot more cost effective and no side effects, that is a great way to increase your GLP-1. And then the chlorogenic acid that is in the yerba mate helps with cravings. It helps with focus. I've seen really great things with my sleep, even though there's caffeine in the yerba mate. I've actually had deeper, more replentiful sleep as well. So that is another thing. And it just gives you a good dose of soluble fiber that we're really lacking right now. In our culture, we don't eat the fermented foods. We don't eat the amount of produce and fruits and vegetables that we should. So those are the three things. Like if you're struggling with the back to school, we, work on that first meal of the day, stabilizing the blood sugar. And I found when I eat like a substantial meal in the morning and another one in late afternoon, I'm fasting through dinner just about every day now, but I finished my last meal around 2:30 or 3. That doesn't work for everybody's schedule, but it works really well for me. So I'm sipping my yerba mate, or it's called Unimate, but it's got yerba mate in it. And then my balance before my second meal that has more carbohydrates in it. And that, gets me through until I go to bed. So resetting the first meal, getting outside for morning sunlight to reset the circadian rhythms, and then light breaks throughout the day. And then, just having the structured system, if you want to try Feel Great, that can be really, really helpful. And then reminder, my free webinar is September 10th. Get registered for that. It's called Ditch the Drugs, Boost GLP-1 Naturally, Burn Fat, and Feel Great Again. So what's going to be covered in that again? Weaning off GLP-1s naturally, if that's what you want to do, avoiding long-term meds like statins and metformin, and just using a simple daily system to activate your body's own fat burning power. So make sure to save your seat for that. I will see you there. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope, if you have children, everything's going great with their teachers and the back to school, and you're able to get back into a normal routine. I'll see you back next week for another episode.